It's been 15 years since the Such Is Life, The Troubled Times of Ben Cousins documentary was released. The 2010 film followed the journey of West Australian footballer Ben Cousins from his rise to fame and football glory to his battles with addiction. Since the documentary came out, Cousins spiraled further out of control, having stints on the streets, in prison, and looking lost to the world of addiction. But 2025, 20 years on from the first public signs of Cousins' struggles, he seems to be in the best position he's been in for a long time. He looks healthy, has been spending time with his children, and has been seen on a variety of TV shows. His name and face will always get him these types of opportunities, and right now, he is making the most of it. To honour the 15-year mark of the Such Is Life documentary, various interviews with Cousins himself, journalist Mike Sheehan, and former Brownlow medalist Jared Healy from 2008, which were not fully seen in the original cut, give us an even deeper glimpse into what really caused the downward spiral of Cousins. In his own words, Cousins had a great childhood.
I had a good childhood. Looking back, I was given every opportunity to succeed. I got an amazing family, and the support that I received from my parents was unequivocal.
He was the son of former Geelong and Perth footballer Brian Cousins, and compared to most 14, 15 or 16-year-olds, he did get a jump start in the football world. I was 2 or 3 years ahead of my age in terms of the application. I went about doing pre-seasons. I set about doing specific training with a sprints coach. I set about doing a weights program that was from the West Coast Eagles weights program. The foundation of hard work was built into Cousins from a very young age. He was all in becoming an AFL player, and a great one. In relation to his father Brian and their relationship when it came to football, Cousins said,
"If anything, he was pretty hard on me. He wasn't full of praise. He would rather address things that I was doing poorly than things I was doing well, and he didn't need to push me because I was self-motivated and self-driven, and that came from within. But in terms of giving me ideas to get the best out of myself, he was fantastic."
Cousins also mentioned in this interview he played a year above throughout his junior career, and by the time he was 17, Geelong, West Coast, and the newly founded Fremantle Football Club were all after his signature under the father-son rule. He decided to stay home and pick the stable West Coast Eagles as the club he would join. While all this was going on, the discipline Cousins showed in football was drained from other parts of his life. In hindsight, it was the initial warning sign Cousins was susceptible to problems further down the line.
Football was that one area in my life that I was just totally disciplined to, and then most other aspects of my life I'd take or leave and it'd come and go.
By no means was he a bad student or person. He even joked in the interview about getting straight A's in his final year of school, and by his own admission, being a touch fox cunning when necessary. But Cousins exploded on the scene at West Coast. The Eagles were not great on field in the late 90s when Cousins joined, but his play was outstanding. He won the Rising Star in his first season, kicking 34 goals, and by his third year, he was averaging 21.3 disposals per game to go alongside 20 goals and polled 18 Brownlow votes. It was an instant rise to fame in WA. He was a one-man team of sorts, and his profile exploded. He was the original number 9 Prince of Perth.
As a 17, 18-year-old, it's nightclubs, it's girls, it's everything that's accompanied with being a 17, 18-year-old. And then you throw in, the profile of being, a regular West Coast player, someone that's probably getting over and above the media attention he's entitled to, and it was a pretty big experience. I think those years, 17, 18, 19, 20, they are big, full-on years, exposed to anything and everything. exciting, fast-paced, new. Yeah, life was good.
Behind the scenes at this time, Cousins was also laying the foundation of addiction. No one epitomises the term work hard and play hard like Cousins. He put so much into physically and mentally training for football, he needed a break. He needed something to escape. Cousins explained his early relationship and encounters with certain substances.
Because of my football, because of my training, because of how much I wanted to succeed, it was very sparingly. It wasn't something I could do every weekend. And I was very reluctant, to let it get a hold of me because I was just starting to reap the benefits of all the hard work I've put into my footy. So I don't want people to quickly think that in any way it was all about the drugs, or because back then and even right through, it's all about the football. It's always been about the football, and they were just brief moments of experimentation that probably planted the seed, early on for what was going to happen down the track.
The formula worked on the field, there is no doubting that. It was a double life that Cousins was living, and he was reaping the benefits, especially in the middle parts of his career.
When he was playing at his peak at West Coast, his ability to run and gut run, and he had this massive stride in his run. Like, he's a little bloke, but he ran so hard and his stride was so long. He was faster than he actually looked, and he would just burn opponents off. He was just so fit. So you've got Judd and Cousins and Kerr all in the same midfield, and certainly they took a bit off each other because they were all so good. But I would say at their peak and at West Coast peak, Cousins would still have been the first of those three that I would have picked.
By the end of 2006, when Cousins was indefinitely suspended by West Coast and his problems were now very much public, he was a 6-time All-Australian, 4-time Best and Fairest winner, Brownlow medalist and Premiership player. He achieved all of this and was just 28 years old, but it had all caught up with him. The secrecy of his drug use had been uncovered, and we all know the key events. The booze bust in 2006, which led to him resigning as captain, his overdose in LA when he should have been at rehab, and one of the saddest days in his life, the public arrest at Northbridge, where he was arrested for drug possession and refusing to submit a blood test.
The most unedifying sight I can remember of Ben was when he was topless. I think he was handcuffed. He just looked a terribly sad, forlorn figure there.
Cousins would be suspended by the AFL for 12 months for bringing the game into disrepute. He would get cleared a year later and play 32 games for Richmond before retiring. He was in the headlines less at the Tigers, but there was still the finger to the camera incident and the sleeping pills episode where he was admitted to hospital. The big problem was, by 2010 with football over, he was now left to his own devices.
For the grace of God, I already had that passion and drive and motivation to succeed in football. If I was a young kid drifting through life without that and had come across the chemicals at the time, it would have quickly become all about the chemicals for me. But I don't know what would have happened had I not had football as my pillar. It was where I drew some strength from. It's what I threw my dedication and ambition into, and I think it'd be really frightening to know where I would have ended up had I not had that to fall back on.
I've got no doubt that Benny loved the highs that he got out of his drug addiction. Loved them. Almost to the point that he's sort of prepared to say, well, I know this is going to impact really heavily negatively on my life, but just the highs are so good that he weighs them up now.
Cousins just got caught up in two worlds. He worked so hard and won on the field and played equally hard off it. The results were so good that initial experimentation turned to habit and ritual. Cousins was travelling down one road with success from football and another road of heavy substance use, and after 10 years, one of those roads shut down. The backbone of his life was closed off, and he was so deep in that the only road left was the bad one.
I don't know where Ben would be without the Tigers right now, and that's always going to be his great challenge when footy finishes, without the structure that a football club provides, how he deals with the challenges of life.
It led to humiliation, troubles with the law, loss of respect, and literally nothing good. From 2010 to 2019, Cousins was in and out of jail and looked completely lost. But he has slowly turned it around.
But if he has the strength to move on, there's no limit to what Ben could do. Ben's got an acute mind. He's got great presentation skills. He looks good behind a camera, or in front of the camera, I should say. And he's pretty creative, and we know that when he sets his mind to it, he can achieve anything. So I'm sure he's got plenty to contribute in media, if someone will give him a go. But he's also got other skills and talents that, if football media doesn't open up for him, that he can.
He's now been given that chance. In early 2023, he began reading the sports news on 7 News Perth and has gone from strength to strength on the network. In 2024, he was a contestant on Dancing with the Stars, made multiple entertaining appearances on the front bar, and even started his own social media page to keep his supporters up to date. He's been involved with the West Coast Eagles Football Club, doing some interviews, and being regularly seen with Harley Reid. It's been a stunning turnaround in a matter of 24 months. Despite all the trouble that Cousins has been through and caused to others, he has always had so much support, and he seems to be repaying the faith even complete strangers have had in him. Now, no one should be doing illegal drugs in the first place, and there is a fine line of not overpraising Cousins for being a normal member of society at 46 years old. But if he can stay on this road, it will be a great football redemption story, and hopefully an inspiring one to others. Now, Cousins has many advantages compared to others who are in a similar addiction spiral, but the basic message of hope applies to everyone. The documentary was so powerful at the time and still holds up today. 15 years on from such his life, Cousins is in the best position of his life for some time.